Hi, I'm Sluggy and welcome to my channel, Wheels and Whisky. Join me as I visit distilleries within easy riding distance from a local train station, enjoy new scenery and maybe a wee nip from my hip flask. The routes I use will always be linked in the description for others to try themselves.
We've been making whiskey in Blair Athol since 1798. We've been making whiskey since 1798 legally, with a license. That's probably when the farmers that were in here were caught red-handed making Yuzgeva on the side without paying the taxes. There is records of whiskey made here on site back to 1742. When it was just a farm, okay? But legal record is 1798 and we're gonna stick to that, okay? It was a very common practice that the farmers will grow the barley and then in winter they will keep always some aside, and with that barley they will make that whiskey, as I say, Yuzgeva. Wasn't whiskey as we know nowadays, but was a very rough spirit that, for example, we can compare with the American moonshine times, okay? But well, with that whiskey, they will either keep it to keep themselves warm through winter, or they will sell it because this was the pass, natural pass through the highlands to Bremer and all Kilmichael. So they will sell it to people passing by and they will make a side business. So as I said, what we make here is a single malt whiskey, and unfortunately you won't see it much in the market, because our Blair Athol single malt is mainly used for blended whiskey. Okay, we are part of Diageo, it's the biggest producer of alcohol in the world, believe it or not, but also owns brands of the size of Johnny Walker, G&B, Swing, well, plenty more, and we contribute also to brands that are not owned by Diageo. Okay, so from the 2.7 million of liters that we produce every year, 99% will be going for blends. That means only 1% is kept as a Blair Athol single malt, and that's what you'll be lucky enough to taste today if you behave, obviously. Okay, only the first ones, 37,000 liters out of 60,000 will be used for fermentation. The rest, as we increase the temperature, as I said, we dissolve all the starch, but the remaining liters are not, don't have the sugar content that we require. So what we do with that water, we hold it back, and when a new batch begins, we use that water first. So that way nothing is lost, nothing goes to waste. And once everything is drained out, the pills, as I said, the shells from the barley, that can't be used. It doesn't have any use for us, but it's very rich in fiber and protein, so that will be collected by the local farmers and is used as a cattle feed. So as you can see, nothing goes to waste. Very ecologic, very practical, very happy cows in Scotland. So well, everything is pumped underneath. There is pipes, and on the way, what we're gonna do, there will be pipes coming with very cold water. That exchange of temperatures is gonna break down this, the temperature, because that is about 60 degrees Celsius. We cannot take it straight away for fermentation. That heat will kill the yeast immediately. So we cool it down to 17, 18 degrees roughly before we can add the yeast. And as I said, once we add the yeast is when the party begins. Okay, so let's sit down on the next one. We're gonna start creating the flavors and the characters that we want for our whiskey. So the length of the fermentation is gonna determine some of these flavors already. Okay, so our Blair Athol is well known for being a very nutty and spicy whiskey, and that comes from a short fermentation. It's just over 2 days, 56 hours of fermentation, and that's when we're gonna develop those nutty, like almonds, like walnuts, flavors, and the spiciness of the ginger. Kind of, it's a little bit tingling on the back of your tongue. You'll see that later, trust me. And well, after these 56 hours, we have a very rough beer. It's more alike to a brewing rather than whiskey, obviously. But it's 8-9% alcohol, which is good for a beer, but not good enough for a whiskey. To make whiskey, to start thinking about whiskey, we need at least Blair Athol 68% alcohol by volume. That's a lot. And there is only one way to get to that point, and it's through distillation. So what we do, we gonna reject head and tail, and we will keep only the heart. As I said, it's the best one we can use to make whiskey. That happens in here. All this is done manually by my colleagues, the operators. The steel men, what they do, they will measure the strength, okay? Head will start running first in this bowl. After 20 minutes or so, when the strength drops from about 90 to 82, they will move this handle and the heart will start coming here. After an hour and a half, more or less, when the strength drops from over under 54-55% strength, then they will move the handle back to this first bowl and they will start collecting the tail until the seal basically empties oil. So head and tail are mixed. And we don't want to waste it. I said that in here we don't waste anything. We will use that because we're going to mix head and tail with this spirit, 25%, the low wines. And all that once it's mixed, basically alcohol again, it's a spirit, and it goes back into the still. So however it is, from the second distillation, we will keep always the middle part, the fine part is the one we're going to make to use our whiskey. Okay? So once we have that 68% alcohol, now we can start thinking about whiskey. That's the one that's going to become our Blair Athol single malt. This is the water supply we use. As you can see right now, there is not much, so that's why rain is very important to us. We need that rain to make whiskey. But well, basically, the way we do, we have built this small dam. What we do when we are in production during the weekdays, they close the gate, that rise the level, and then we take the water. The water comes from the mountains right at the back, Benbraki, and it comes all the way through the mountains. There is no farmlands or properties, nothing that can damage our water. So it's pure spring water, as pure as it can be. Okay? So once it goes into the boiler house, so don't worry if was anything there after being boiled at 100 degrees. Nothing will survive that. So I can tell you the quality of the water have no problem. Okay, so once we get that new make spirit, before we can call it whiskey, we need to mature it for at least 3 years and 1 day, just to make sure, it's an up day or like year or something like that, but well, just to make sure 3 years and 1 day has to be matured in oak wood cask and in Scotland. Okay, after that we can say that single malt Scotch whiskey. Okay, so that's what we're gonna see in this next room. We're gonna see the maturation site. It's about 5,000 casks in there. I'm gonna let the wow moment for you. In here, that's a lot of whiskey going on in this very same warehouse. And as you can see, the conditions on this warehouse, there is no floor, there is in contact with it's grey, it's ground, and the walls are really thick, are stone walls, and all that is to keep always the same temperature, okay? Average temperature inside of this warehouse is about 6-7 degrees all year round, and that is great because while these cars are laying there, it's something happening that is inevitable, is that alcohol tends to evaporate. Nothing we can do to stop it, but if we can reduce the amount, best. Okay, so 2% will be lost in a year. 2% that goes up and is what we call the angels.
As we finished the Blair Athol tour, I'm almost out of battery, so I'll make this quick. Really interesting tour. Tasted not just Blair Athol but another distillery's whisky, obviously part of the Diageo group. Good tour, good amount of money, and really enjoyed it. Now we need to rush off and get the train as usual. Enjoy your journey and see you at the next video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll release a video every month. Bye.